Alright, we've taken care of Sonic the Hedgehog 1, so let's not waste any time and go straight to Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Not without me, you're not.
Oh, hey, Elliot.
Okay, so you're gonna let Crazy Hair be in this, and yet I can't be in this.
I resent that.
You want to join?
Sure, I thought it was gonna be harder than that. I had a ladle ready and everything.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
So yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog was a smash hit, and when a game's good, people want a sequel. On November 24th, 1992, a day dubbed as Sonic Tuesday, fans saw the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Unlike the original game, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was actually developed in America. In addition to the return of our blue hero, we're also introduced to Miles Per Hour, only known as Tails. Seriously, why even bother giving him a name when he's only called Tails in every game he's in? But anyway, if you have a second controller port, you can actually control Tails, keeping his AI invulnerability, which can absolutely break the game. Give it a try if you're ever curious.
In this installment, Dr. Robotnik returns and begins kidnapping all the little woodland creatures. Again. But this time, he's got something much bigger planned. The Death Egg.
What? So anyway, in terms of gameplay, not a whole lot has changed. Sonic, including Tails, plays exactly the same as the previous game. Only this time, Sonic now has a supersonic spin dash. Well, that's what the manual calls it anyway, everyone else just calls it the spin dash. By holding the down button on the D-pad and mashing the shit out of buttons, Sonic or Tails will begin to rev up in place. As soon as you let go of the button, Sonic will take off at a high speed, allowing him to travel up slopes and hills with great ease.
Instead of 3 acts per zone, stages now only have 2 acts per zone, but the levels themselves are more fleshed out, longer with new bandits, different routes, and more obstacles. Like the original, every zone ends with a boss fight with Dr. Robotnik, who has even more nefarious ways of trying to destroy Sonic. This can range from trying to impale Sonic with the slowest moving drill in existence, to trying to smash him with the world's most predictable hammer strikes. Are you sure this guy has an IQ of 300?
The levels themselves are really a sight to look at. Definitely much more brighter and colorful than Sonic 1. It almost makes my eyes bleed. Emerald Hill Zone. It's just Green Hill Zone, only a lot more colorful. Moving on, Chemical Plant Zone.
Here's where we're introduced to speed boosters, which would forever split the Sonic community. Why? Don't ask me, it's an incredibly stupid argument. It's very possible to actually have Sonic outrun the screen. Now that's badass. The zone also has rather nefarious water sections that I'm sure most beginners will drown in.
Aquatic Ruin Zone.
This is pretty much the water level of this particular game. If you're good enough, you can never actually touch the water. What's the point of a water level if you can never actually touch the water?
Casino Night Zone. And here we're introduced to what will become a staple in the Sonic series. Compulsive Gambling. Hilltop Zone.
It's blue and it's boring.
Mystic Cave Zone. It's your standard mossy cave-like zone containing what's probably the most infamous trap in the game. The Pit. Not even Super Sonic can escape its grasp. Seriously, you fall down here and you're finished. Oil Ocean Zone.
A zone with crap loads of oil and seahorses, which can actually be pretty dang annoying. I actually sometimes wonder what would happen if a lit matchstick fell into this area. Hey look, you can do this.
Metropolis Zone. Unlike other zones, this one actually has 3 acts instead of 2, and Christ can they be long. But that's not this level's worst problem. It's these fuckers. Shellcrackers, Asterons, and Slicers. Now Asterons aren't that big of a deal, they're easy to spot and they're incredibly easy to avoid if you prepare for it. These two, however, will make sure your ring count will never go above 1. First off, Shellcracker's only weak spot is on its back, but whenever you spot one, it's usually under an incredibly low ceiling, so you can never really jump over it and hit it. If you attempt to attack it from the front, you'll just get owned by its extendable claw. But trust me, even he doesn't compare to the Slicer.
I hate slicers!
They're freaking everywhere and their placements are just plain cheap. Look at this. How am I supposed to avoid that? Sky Chase Zone.
In Sky Chase, if you stand on the plane, that's it. It's only one Act 2, which leads us to Wing Fortress Zone, also a 1 act stage.
Wing Fortress Zone.
Wing Fortress is probably the most nerve-wracking of the zones because you're constantly traversing through airborne platforms, floating above instant death. It definitely makes my fingers twitch, but if you want to make it easy on yourself, you could try this trick.
Upon starting the level and when you get your first shield, you'll come across a propeller which blocks your progression and is supposed to force you to take the left path. However, if you simply walk straight into the propeller, you'll lose your shield, but you can use the invincibility frames given to you to walk past it and effectively skip half of the level. Death Egg Zone. The final act. Just take a few steps to the right and that's it. You'll face the two last bosses here with no rings in sight. It's all about reflexes here, so don't screw up. Also returning are special stages in which you attempt to nab a Chaos Emerald. Whenever you go past the checkpoint with at least 50 rings, sparkly stars will form around the post. When you jump into it, you'll enter the special stage. Unlike Sonic 1 where you had to get Sonic through acid trip mazes, you now have to control Sonic through half-pipe structures in which your goal is to nab the set amount of rings the stage throws at you. To be perfectly honest, I hate these special stages. It takes a shitload of memorization to get these stages right, and the control's a bit on the slippery side. It's almost impossible to be perfectly precise with it.
However, if you manage to obtain all 7 Chaos Emeralds, we get what's probably the coolest addition to the Sonic series, Super Sonic. Upon collecting 50 rings and simply jumping, Sonic will transform into the Golden Super Sonic, which he can run faster, jumps hell of a lot higher, and is pretty much invulnerable to enemy attack.
Though he can still get crushed, fall into pits, and drown. You'd think becoming Super would benefit Sonic's non-existent swimming abilities, but apparently the creator of the Emeralds were waterphobes too.
In addition to everything we just mentioned, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 also introduced some multiplayer elements. Besides plugging in a second controller to let your buddy control Tails, you can also participate in races. You can choose between Emerald Hill Zone, Casino Night, Mystic Cave, or the special stage in which your goal is to nab more rings than your opponent. And these aren't watered down levels. No, it's actually the full levels from single player. They also come with their own multiplayer music, which sounds great by the way. Though the split screen may make everything look a bit cluttered, it's still a nice feature. Only, you know, you wish there were more levels to choose from.
So now that we're done with Sonic 2, how does it fare with the original? Well, it does what all good sequels do, enhance everything that made the original great and fix all the problems the first one had. The spin dash makes the momentum-based physics far more enjoyable, and you can pick up speed easier without giving too much speed. The game is also a lot longer, with more variety in the levels, and the overall level design is just better. It's just more focused and designed better, like the creators were testing out things in Sonic 1, and now they knew what the series was truly capable of.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the best-selling game ever on the Sega Genesis, with over 6 million copies, and it definitely deserves it. It just kicks too much ass. Well, it'll be a bit before we get over the obvious sequel, Sonic 3, so we're going to take a little side diversion onto the hilariously bad Sega CD, and look at one of the few games actually worth playing on it.
We'll give this game a 9.5 out of 10.
Next time on Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic spins on an exciting new CD technology mumbo-jumbo as he pulls off his best Marty McFly impersonation to save the future and a girl named Princess Sally. Next time, Sonic CD.